The Galactic Ultimatum. The stars above Earth shimmered like a vast ocean of light, undisturbed and peaceful. But tonight, something was different. A shadow moved across the sky, a fleet of massive alien warships, their dark hulls blocking out the stars. They had arrived. In the United Nations Command Center, world leaders, military generals, and top scientists sat around a large screen. The message had just arrived. A hologram flickered to life, revealing an alien figure standing tall in dark armor. Its skin was gray, its eyes black and emotionless. It spoke in a deep mechanical voice. "Humans of Earth, I am High Commander Selvok of the Zorvath Empire. Your time has ended. Surrender now or be erased from existence." A silence filled the room. The transmission continued. "We will give you 5 hours. After that, our fleet will begin planetary bombardment. Any attempt to resist will result in your complete destruction." The hologram vanished. A heavy silence followed. Some leaders looked panicked, others whispered among themselves. The Zorvath Empire was known across the galaxy. They had conquered dozens of planets. No species had ever survived their invasion. The President of the United States leaned forward. "What are our options?" A general shook his head. "Their fleet is massive. Our satellites detected over 100 warships, each the size of a city. Their weapons are beyond anything we've seen. We can't win a direct battle." Another leader spoke. "Then, do we surrender?" A deep chuckle broke the tension. Heads turned toward the source. It was General Marcus Hale, one of Earth's most respected military strategists. He leaned back in his chair, a smirk on his face. "Surrender." He laughed again. "You think they'll let us live if we bow down? No. If we give up, we become slaves. If we fight, at least we have a chance. But they have weapons we can't counter." A scientist protested. Marcus shrugged. "They don't know what humans are capable of. That's their first mistake." A few others in the room exchanged glances. The tension in the air shifted. Fear was still there, but something else was rising. Determination. Outside, the people of Earth were watching the skies. The news stations broadcast the alien ultimatum, and social media exploded with theories and panic. But among the chaos, something strange happened. People started joking. Memes spread across the internet. Someone photoshopped an alien ship with a giant pizza delivery sign on it. Others posted messages like, "They picked the wrong planet," and "Welcome to Earth, now get in line like everyone else." While some were terrified, many just laughed. On a military base hidden deep underground, a group of special operatives watched the newsfeed. One soldier chuckled, "We're about to fight an intergalactic war, and people are making memes." His commander smirked. "That's what makes us different." Meanwhile, in orbit, the alien fleet monitored Earth's response. High Commander Selvok frowned. The humans were not reacting as expected. Other species had begged for mercy. Some had even surrendered before the countdown ended. But these humans, they were calm. Some of them were even laughing. The Zorvath officer stepped forward. "Sir, should we proceed with the bombardment?" Selvok hesitated. Something felt wrong. Why were these creatures not afraid? What were they hiding? He turned to his second in command. "Deploy scouts. I want full surveillance on their military activity. We cannot afford to underestimate them." Back on Earth, deep beneath the Nevada desert, a secret command center came to life. Scientists and engineers activated defense systems that had been hidden for decades. Giant doors opened under the ocean, revealing warships far more advanced than anyone had imagined. A group of pilots sat in a briefing room, their faces filled with excitement rather than fear. One of them, a young woman named Lieutenant Sarah Vaughn, grinned as she strapped on her flight helmet. "So the aliens want a war," she said. "Let's give them a warm welcome." Across the planet, hidden military bases, underground bunkers, and secret weapons came online. Humanity had never been united before, but tonight, they stood together. The countdown continued. 5 hours left. And yet, while the aliens waited for Earth's surrender, the humans only smiled. Because they knew something the Zorvith did not. This was not the first time humanity had faced impossible odds. And they had never lost a war. The silent preparation. The countdown continued. 4 hours left. In orbit, High Commander Xelvok watched the human world through his ship's main display. Cities glittered below, sprawling across the planet like veins of light. The Zorvith Empire had conquered countless worlds. But Earth, something was different. "Sir," a Zorvith officer reported, "scouts have been deployed. No signs of planetary defenses activating. Their military movements are minimal." Xelvok narrowed his eyes. That was impossible. When other species faced annihilation, they scrambled to defend themselves, launching desperate attacks, building barriers, begging for mercy. But the humans, they were calm. Too calm. He turned to his second-in-command. "Send a stealth probe. Get me a live feed of their highest command center." 3 hours and 30 minutes left. Deep inside a secret military facility buried beneath the Rocky Mountains, General Marcus Hale stood in front of a large screen displaying Earth's defensive strategy. Around him, the best minds of humanity gathered. Scientists, hackers, intelligence operatives, and battle-hardened warriors. The room buzzed with energy. Maps, intercepted alien transmissions, and classified projects flashed across the monitors. A scientist with round glasses and a nervous expression cleared his throat. "General, the Zorvith fleet has enough firepower to destroy half the planet in minutes. Their technology surpasses ours in nearly every way." Hale smirked. "Nearly every way." Another officer, a tall woman with a sharp gaze, folded her arms. "So what's the plan, sir? If we can't outgun them, how do we stop them?" The general tapped a button on the console. The screen changed, revealing something shocking. An enormous black warship hidden deep within the ocean. It was unlike any human vessel, with sleek edges, strange patterns glowing across its hull. A murmur spread through the room. A young analyst leaned forward. That's not one of ours." Hale's grin widened. "No, but we made it ours." 3 hours left. The Zorvith stealth probe zipped through Earth's atmosphere, its cloaking field masking it from radar and satellites. It approached the Rocky Mountains, scanning for communication signals. Then it picked up something. A video transmission from a military base. The probe adjusted its sensors and zoomed in. The footage showed humans, not panicked or desperate, but laughing. A group of soldiers played cards while waiting for orders. A team of scientists joked about how the aliens had probably never tasted pizza. A pilot casually leaned against his jet, sipping coffee like it was just another day. The probe sent the feed back to the Zorvith flagship. Xelvok's fists clenched as he watched. What is this?" His officer hesitated. "Sir, they appear unbothered." The alien commander's dark eyes narrowed. No species had ever reacted this way to an ultimatum. It made no sense. "Perhaps they're simply foolish," the officer suggested. Xelvok wasn't convinced. His instincts screamed that something was wrong. Then another alert flashed across the screen. Multiple nuclear silos detected. Large-scale energy readings coming from deep ocean structures. Underground transport systems moving high-speed cargo. The humans weren't doing nothing. They were preparing for war. Silently. Efficiently. Without panic. Xelvok's blood ran cold. He had never seen a species act like this before. He turned to his fleet commanders. "Prepare for immediate planetary bombardment. No more waiting." The officer hesitated. "But sir, Now." Xelvok snapped. He would not allow the humans to complete whatever they were planning. 2 hours left. On Earth, a coded message was sent to all military bases. Phase 1. Begin. Across the planet, secret installations powered up. Advanced AI-driven drones took flight. Submarines carrying classified weapons systems moved into position, and in the Nevada desert, an underground hangar opened, revealing a fleet of ships that no alien had ever seen before. Inside one of them, Lieutenant Sarah Vaughn fastened her flight suit. Her hands trembled slightly, but she grinned. Time to show the galaxy what humans can do. The countdown ticked away. 2 hours left. And the Zorvath had just made a terrible mistake. The first strike. 1 hour and 50 minutes left. The Zorvath fleet shifted into attack formation. Thousands of warships hovered in low orbit, their weapon systems locking onto key targets, military bases, communication hubs, power plants. Inside the Zorvath flagship, Commander Xelvok stood before a massive display, his mandibles tightening as he observed Earth's surface. "This ends now," he growled. "Begin the assault." The order rippled through the fleet. Energy cannons glowed as they prepared to unleash devastation. But just before the first shot was fired, every single Zorvath warship shut down. Engines sputtered, screens flickered, weapons powered down. A fleet that had been poised for destruction now floated helplessly in space. Xelvok's eyes widened in shock. What just happened? Status report. His officers scrambled in confusion. "Sir, our systems are unresponsive. We've lost control of propulsion. All targeting computers are offline." "How?" Xelvok roared. Then a transmission came through. A human face appeared on their main screen. A man with gray hair, sharp eyes, and a calm smirk. General Marcus Hale. "Hey there, Xelvok," Hale said casually, sipping a cup of coffee. "Got yourselves in a bit of a situation, huh?" Xelvok's claws twitched in fury. "What have you done?" Hale leaned forward. "See, you aliens aren't the only ones who know how to hack. You thought your ships were untouchable, but here's the thing. You connected them to your network. And we got in. A little backdoor here, a little override there. And well, welcome to our war." Xelvok's mind raced. This was impossible. No species had ever hacked Zorvath technology before. It was too advanced, too encrypted. And yet, the humans had done it. His fleet was completely paralyzed. Xelvok's fury burned hotter. "You think this is over? We still have ground forces ready to deploy." Hale chuckled. "Oh, we know. And we're waiting." The transmission cut off. And on Earth, the real battle was about to begin. 1 hour and 40 minutes left. Across the planet, thousands of human aircraft roared to life. But these were not ordinary jets. These were next-generation atmospheric interceptors, built in secret, armed with electromagnetic disruptors, plasma railguns, and adaptive shielding. As the Zorvath attempted to send ground forces, human stealth bombers struck first. A massive explosion rocked the sky. As Zorvath troop carriers were obliterated mid-descent, the surviving ships twisted and turned, trying to dodge the unseen attacks. But the humans had warped the battlefield. From the Nevada desert, a team of cyber warfare specialists unleashed new waves of attacks, jamming enemy sensors and feeding them false battlefield data. The Zorvath forces saw Earth's cities burning. They saw human warships destroyed. They saw victory. It was all an illusion. The reality. They were flying straight into a trap. In the skies over the Atlantic, Lieutenant Sarah Vaughn and her squadron soared through the clouds, engaging the remaining Zorvath forces. Her radio crackled. "Vaughn, we've got incoming fighters. 50 plus. Orders." Sarah grinned, gripping the controls of her sleek black fighter. "Time to make 'em regret coming here." She pulled back on the throttle, her jet disappearing into thin air. The Zorvath pilots barely had time to react as Sarah and her squadron reappeared behind them, weapons hot. "Light 'em up," she ordered. Plasma cannons unleashed hell. Explosions ripped through the sky as Zorvath ships went down in flames. The remaining aliens tried to retreat, only to realize their hyperdrives weren't working. Another little human trick. 1 hour left. On the Zorva flagship, panic spread. "Sir, we've lost contact with our ground forces. Our pilots are being wiped out. Our hyperdrives are locked. We can't escape." Zelvok's claws dug into his throne. This wasn't just a war. It was a complete and utter humiliation. And the humans, they were laughing. He watched as another human transmission came through. General Hale, still sipping his coffee. "You still want to do this, Zelvok?" Hale asked. "Because we haven't even sent in our big guns yet." Zelvok's breathing was heavy. His mind raced. How? How had they done this? Then he realized. The humans had never planned to fight this war traditionally. They had planned to turn the battlefield into their playground. And now, they were winning. 50 minutes left. Zelvok knew what he had to do. But surrender? Never. Instead, he whispered to his officers, "Prepare our final contingency." If he couldn't win, then he would make sure Earth burned with him. The Doomsday Protocol. 50 minutes left. On the Zorva flagship, Commander Zelvok's mandibles twitched as he activated a hidden command on his control panel. The moment his claw pressed the sequence, a countdown began. 49:59. 49:58. A deep hum vibrated through the ship. His officers turned in confusion as a classified security barrier sealed the bridge, trapping them inside. Zelvok's voice was cold and steady. "You think the humans have won." His sharp eyes locked onto the massive holographic display, showing Earth's blue surface below. "They haven't seen what we're truly capable of." He turned to his second-in-command, General Raxtor. "Initiate the Doomsday Protocol." Raxtor's eyes widened in shock. "But Commander That." Zelvok's claws clenched. "That is an order." Raxtor hesitated. Then, with a reluctant nod, he pressed a button on his control panel. The display zoomed in on Earth, revealing 12 massive asteroids hidden beyond the dark side of the moon. They weren't just ordinary space rocks. They were planetary siege weapons, outfitted with gravitational thrusters, antimatter cores, and planet-cracking warheads. Each one was capable of wiping out a continent. And now, they were locked onto Earth. A silent command was sent. The asteroids began to move. 45 minutes left. General Marcus Hale stood in the Earth Defense Command Center, his eyes narrowing at the red warning lights flashing across the screens. "What the hell is that?" one of his officers muttered. Hale stared at the incoming objects, his expression turning grim. "They're not retreating. They're escalating." The data was clear. 12 massive objects, each the size of a city, were accelerating toward Earth. They weren't just fighting a fleet anymore. They were fighting extinction. 40 minutes left. Across the world, alarms blared. Emergency broadcast systems activated. Civilians were rushed into underground bunkers, not realizing they were staring at humanity's final hours. In the Nevada desert, a young scientist named Dr. Evelyn Carter was running calculations on her quantum eye assistant. She looked up, pale. "Sir, at their current velocity, impact will occur in 39 minutes. Hale exhaled slowly. "Then we've got 39 minutes to stop the end of the world." He turned to his lead strategist. Options. The room was silent. No warhead, no missile, no kinetic strike could stop objects that size. Then Evelyn spoke up. "There is one option." Hale turned. "I'm listening." Evelyn hesitated. "It's untested, experimental, and it could be just as dangerous to us as it is to them." Hale folded his arms. "We're out of time. Doctor, talk to me." She took a deep breath. Project Event Horizon. The room went dead silent. 35 minutes left. A classified research facility beneath the Antarctic ice hummed to life. In its center, a massive ring-shaped structure, glowing with unstable energy, began to activate for the first time in history. This was Project Event Horizon, a top-secret human experiment designed to bend the very fabric of space-time. Theoretically, it could create controlled black holes. Theoretically. Now they had no choice but to make it a reality. 30 minutes left. The 12 asteroids closed in. Humanity had one shot. The Event Horizon device roared to life, releasing a pulse of energy so powerful it sent tremors across the planet. In orbit, space itself began to distort. A gravitational vortex ripped open above the Earth, pulling at the incoming asteroids like a cosmic vacuum. The first asteroid was swallowed whole. The second vanished into the abyss. The third was torn apart at the molecular level. The black hole grew larger and less stable. Alarms blared inside the Antarctic facility. Evelyn's hands flew across the controls. "We need to shut it down before it pulls Earth in too." "Cut the power," Hale barked. But it was too late. The energy was out of control. The gravitational field expanded, pulling in the wreckage of Zorvath warships, the remains of satellites, even the upper edges of Earth's atmosphere. And then, something stepped out. 25 minutes left. Inside the Zorvath flagship, Zelvok's expression shifted from triumph to horror. His fleet's sensors detected something emerging from the singularity. Something ancient. Something alien. And it was staring directly at Earth. For the first time in his life, Zelvok felt fear. Because whatever had just awakened wasn't human, and it wasn't friendly. The unknown awakens. 25 minutes left. The cosmic rift, still expanding above Earth, pulsed with an eerie, unnatural light. The black hole had done its job. Swallowing the asteroids meant to annihilate the planet. But it had also opened a doorway. And something had stepped through. The entity was unlike anything seen before. It wasn't a ship, wasn't a creature. It was both. Its form shifted like liquid metal, constantly adapting, reshaping itself into incomprehensible patterns. Golden veins pulsed beneath its surface, illuminating the void around it. The only clear feature was its eyes. Two blinding orbs that radiated pure energy, like twin stars in a humanoid skull. It turned its gaze toward Earth, and it spoke. Not in words, not in sound, but in a wave of thought that flooded every sentient mind within range. A single question, ancient and absolute. Who dares? Zorvath flagship. Bridge. Commander Zelvok clutched his skull as raw terror overtook him. His entire fleet, hundreds of warships, had been reduced to scattered wreckage. His doomsday asteroids had been consumed by a force beyond comprehension. And now, something far worse than humans had arrived. Zelvok struggled to speak, but his mouth was dry, his mandibles clicking in panic. General Raxtor collapsed to his knees, eyes wide with fear. That's impossible. It wasn't just the sight of the entity. It was the feeling. The overwhelming sensation that they were insects in the presence of something divine, something ancient, something that did not tolerate lesser beings tampering with the fabric of reality. Zelvok made a final, desperate decision. All ships, retreat. Now. But before his command could be fully transmitted, the entity raised its hand. And time stopped. Earth. Antarctic Research Facility. Dr. Evelyn Carter fell backward as her mind fractured under the pressure of the entity's presence. The entire planet trembled as if caught in the gravitational pull of something not from this universe. General Hale slammed his hands on the control panel. Shut it down. Shut it down now. The Event Horizon generator pulsed violently, sparks flying as its systems overloaded. The rift widened for one terrifying moment. Then, with a final, ear-shattering crack, it collapsed. The entity turned its head toward the dying rift, as if disappointed. Then, it looked back at Earth. For one endless moment, humanity held its breath. Then, the entity spoke again. You are not ready. With that, it vanished, leaving behind only silence. Zorvath fleet. Aftermath. Time resumed. Zelvok gasped, suddenly able to move again. His claws trembled. The entity was gone, but its presence had branded itself into his mind, into all of their minds. He turned toward Earth, still processing what had just happened. And that's when he realized his fleet was no longer in control. The remaining warships, damaged, broken, were suddenly flooded with human transmissions. One of his officers screamed in shock, "Sir, they've hacked our systems." On every screen aboard the Zorveth warships, a single image appeared. A human man, wearing dark sunglasses, sitting casually in a chair with his feet on a table. Behind him, the Earth spun peacefully in the background. He smiled. And then he spoke. "Hey there, bugs. Looks like your little invasion didn't work out, huh?" Zelvok's blood ran cold. The human leaned forward, his grin widening. "Now, be good little aliens and run home, before we start getting serious." A beat of silence. Then, every single Zorvath ship's weapon systems went offline. Their engines flickered uncontrollably. The humans had hijacked their entire fleet. And for the first time in his career, Commander Zelvok gave the order to flee. Earth, victory. The moment the Zorveth fleet jumped to hyperspace, a wave of cheers erupted across the planet. Cities celebrated. Soldiers hugged each other. The impossible had happened. Earth had won. But General Hale stood quietly in the Antarctic bunker, staring at the darkened Event Horizon machine. Dr. Evelyn Carter sat beside him, rubbing her temples. "We were supposed to die today." Hale exhaled. "Yeah." A long pause. Then, Evelyn looked up. "That thing, the entity, it called us not ready." Hale nodded, "Which means it's waiting for something." They exchanged a glance, the weight of the unknown settling over them. They had survived today, but something else was coming. And next time, it might not just be an alien invasion. It might be something worse. Something humanity wasn't ready for. Echoes of the unknown. 2 days after the invasion, Earth had won. The Zorveth had fled. But victory didn't feel like it should. The world was still celebrating, but in secret rooms, beneath the surface, behind locked doors, humanity's leaders gathered, not to discuss their triumph, but to prepare for what was coming next. Because while the Zorveth had been defeated, the entity had not. Antarctica. Black Site Omega. Dr. Evelyn Carter sat in a dimly lit chamber, staring at the only known recording of the cosmic being. The image flickered, a distorted mass of shifting metal and golden veins, its twin star eyes glowing with unreadable intent. Its last words echoed in her mind. "You are not ready." She sipped cold coffee, hands trembling. The Zorveth were one thing. They had ships, weapons, a war strategy. They were predictable. But the entity, it had stopped time. It had ignored physics. It had looked at Earth and judged it, like a teacher testing a student, or a predator examining its prey. General Hale entered the room, his face lined with exhaustion. "Tell me you have something." Evelyn exhaled sharply. "I don't know if we should have won that fight, General." Hale frowned. "What are you saying?" She pointed at the screen. "That thing. It could have destroyed us in an instant, but it didn't." Hale remained silent. She leaned forward, her voice dropping. "What if it was testing us? What if everything, the Zorveth, the invasion, the war, was just an experiment?" Hale's jaw clenched. "You think it was watching?" Evelyn nodded slowly. "No, I think it was waiting." Deep space, the vanished armada. The Zorveth fleet had fled in chaos, their systems hijacked by human hackers. But something worse had happened. When they re-emerged from hyperspace, half their ships were missing. Not destroyed, not damaged, gone. Commander Zelvok sat frozen in his captain's chair, his exoskeleton twitching in pure terror. A deep, unnatural silence filled the bridge. "Where are they?" Rax Tor whispered. No answer. The scanners showed nothing. No debris, no escape pods. It was as if those warships had never existed. And then, the lights flickered. A voice, ancient and impossibly deep, slithered through the ship's comms. You reach them to US. Zelvok's heart stopped. The crew screamed. And in the blackness of space, a new rift opened. Something stepped through. Something that wasn't human. Something that wasn't Zorveth. But something that had been waiting. Earth, the unanswered question. General Hale stood before the United Earth Command, a council of leaders from every major nation. The invasion was a distraction, he said. His voice was hard, controlled. The room erupted in murmurs. Hale continued, his eyes dark. We assumed the Zorveth came to conquer us. We assumed they were the greatest threat we had ever faced. He paused. But we were wrong. The murmurs stopped. Hale's next words sent a chill through the room. The real threat hasn't come yet. Silence. Then the council's chairman spoke. Then what do you suggest, General? Hale turned to Evelyn, who placed a single file on the table. Project Seat AA Senseion, a classified program, one that had been abandoned long ago because the technology was too dangerous. Now it was Earth's only hope. Hale's voice was grim. We get ready. Evelyn exhaled. For what? Hale clenched his fists. For whatever's coming next. Beyond the stars. The entity's realm. The cosmic being stood at the edge of existence, watching Earth. Its twin star eyes burned brighter. It had seen humanity. It had tested them. And it had decided. They were not ready. But soon, they would have to be. The final warning. Somewhere in deep space, the missing fleet. Zelvok had lost control. His flagship, the Eternal Vengeance, drifted in the void, surrounded by an unnatural blackness. The Zorvath were warriors, conquerors. Never in their history had they fled from a battle. Yet now, they had run, and half their fleet had vanished. The bridge was silent except for the beeping of failing life support systems. No one dared to speak. They all saw the same thing, the impossible void before them. It wasn't space. It was something else. Then the void shifted. A shape emerged. Not a ship, not a planet, but a presence. A being of shifting metal, liquid gold, and burning twin star eyes. It wasn't attacking. It was studying them. Then the voice came, a sound so deep and vast that it shattered the screens on the bridge. You were not the ones. We were boiting the F4. Zelvok's exoskeleton tightened in fear. The crew barely had time to react before their ship simply ceased to exist. Earth. Project Ascension begins. Beneath the ice of Antarctica, the world's greatest minds had gathered. General Hale paced the room as Dr. Evelyn Carter displayed holograms of classified blueprints. Designs humanity was never meant to use. Ascension was shut down for a reason, Evelyn warned. This is beyond anything we've ever built. Hale's expression was like stone. We don't have a choice. The council members stared at the holograms, the calculations, the impossible energy readings. A human-made ship, but something more. A vessel that could move beyond space itself. A weapon not of war, but of preparation. A response to whatever was watching Earth. One scientist whispered in disbelief, if we build this, we won't just be defending Earth. Hale nodded. We'll be stepping into their domain. Evelyn sighed. And that means one thing. Everyone turned to her. She exhaled. They'll finally see us as a threat. The Galactic Council. A new fear. The remaining Zorveth survivors had limped back to the Galactic Council. For centuries, the Council had feared only one thing, humanity's potential. Now, they saw something worse. The Zorveth fleet hadn't just lost to humans. They had attracted something greater. The holographic projection flickered, showing the last moments of the Eternal Vengeance, and the cosmic entity standing before them. A council member trembled. What is that? No one answered. But deep in their hearts, they all knew. It wasn't human. It wasn't Zorvith. It was something that had been waiting. And now, because of the war, it knew humanity existed. Final transmission. The entity speaks. In the skies above Earth, satellites glitched. Radios crackled. And then, across every screen, every frequency, a single message appeared in a language no human should have been able to understand. You were not Reedy. The world stood still. Then, the final line. No, you must be. The message ended. General Hale turned to Evelyn, his face pale. What does that mean? Evelyn whispered the only answer that made sense. It means the real war hasn't even started yet.